Bitcoin's not going to save the dollar from continuing losing value. Bitcoin is just going to allow you to not get poor. I think that it's idealistic to think that somehow all of the world's problems get solved in the next decade with Bitcoin. That's not true. But what is true.
Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Crypto. In today's video, we have Michael Saylor, Executive Chairman and co-founder of MicroStrategy, talking about the future of Bitcoin and his outlook for the next 30 years. Saylor is known to be a big Bitcoin advocate, with his company owning 132,500 Bitcoin, but he believes that although the fiat world is crumbling, fiat currencies will continue to exist, with the dollar as the reserve currency, and that we will have a world of multiple assets. He also says he's not hung up on hyperbitcoinization, which might come as a shock to many Bitcoin lovers and maximalists. Let's listen to Michael Saylor as he discusses the real truth about Bitcoin and what it means to have a Bitcoin standard. But before we do, please consider subscribing to our channel, as we bring you daily content on the latest crypto news. And now, let's jump right into the video.
Bitcoin is about 0.1% of the liquid financial assets circulating around the world right now, like $300 to $400 billion out of a $400 trillion number. If it got 10 times bigger, it would be 1%. If it got 100 times bigger, it would be 10%. So in our lifetime, in the next 10 to 30 years, I don't think the entire world is going to be revolving around Bitcoin. I think that what you'll see is Bitcoin is a reserve asset that can replace gold and can replace land and can replace portfolios of stocks as a long-term treasury asset. I think that everybody in the world, as long as they're nation states, you have to respect the Argentine government, and you're going to have to pay your taxes in the peso, even though you don't like it. And then you got to respect the US government. The USD is going to be the world reserve currency. In China, the CNY is going to be strong. So in Europe, as long as the European Union lasts, the euro is going to be a player. So the right way, I think, for us to think about it is, as long as there are nation states, there will be currencies. And when the US is no longer relevant, there will be no US dollar. As long as there are corporations like Apple and Google, there will be securities. And so I don't promote securities and currencies, because my view is the safest ethical ground to stand on is to promote a commodity without an issuer, right? I don't promote them, but I understand there's 10,000 securities you might invest in, and you can make mistakes or you can make a lot of money on them. And I don't dismiss the value of Google stock. And I understand that you really need the Russian ruble if you live in Russia, and you really need the bolivar if you live in Venezuela, even though the bolivar loses 98% of its value in 2 years. You still need it, right? So I think that you got to look at a world of multiple assets, and then you got to have a portfolio theory as to how you balance the assets. I don't think that Bitcoin is a currency. As long as the United States exists, stuff's going to be denominated in the US dollar.
Okay.
I see it as property. My view is Bitcoin is demonetizing gold. The reason that gold is only 100x as valuable over 90 years, and property is 500x more valuable, is because property is actually being monetized. Gold is being demonetized. So Bitcoin is going to demonetize that second investment home. It's going to demonetize gold. It's going to demonetize maybe ETFs and some stocks, but it's going to be a long process. It's going to take a couple of decades, 3 decades. That's how I view it. I'm not really hung up on hyper-Bitcoinization and the end of debt and, governments as we know it. I'm going to stick with the governments for now.
Saylor's view on this matter is a lot different from most Bitcoin advocates, who pursue a vision of all fiat currencies getting destroyed and Bitcoin rising as the world reserve currency. But if Bitcoin doesn't take over the dollar, how does it fix the problem of the dollar losing value? Let's hear Michael's view on this.
Bitcoin's not going to save the dollar from continuing losing value. Bitcoin is just going to allow you to not get poor.
No, I understand that.
Right? Like, if you want to get rich, you have to own property. And so Bitcoin is property that the middle class and working class people can own everywhere in the world. And otherwise, they're going to be destitute. So Bitcoin is a solution to the individual and the corporation. Bitcoin is not going to eliminate the euro, the yen, the won, and the dollar. They will all continue. And I think that it's idealistic to think that somehow all of the world's problems get solved in the next decade with Bitcoin. That's not true. But what is true is that if you're about to become poor and starve to death in the middle of a country where the currency is collapsing, it'll solve your problem. It solves the problem of people in Lebanon or Turkey or Argentina or Venezuela. It solves their problem. And if you're a middle-class person driving an Uber in the United States, you can't very well buy an 18th of a building. So it gives you property rights. You can buy a piece of property and you can save for your retirement using that property and not rely upon a third party, right? So it is a particular solution to a set of problems that individuals face. Bitcoin is an interesting, nice to have, and an intellectual discussion for people in Western Europe and the US and the developed world with a strong currency losing 7% of its value a year. But Bitcoin represents a life raft to the billions of people in Sri Lanka and Lebanon and Turkey and Argentina and Venezuela, not to mention the ones in Cuba and North Korea that have zero property rights. And of course, half of the world or more has capital controls, right? If you look at that blue dollar rate, what you'll find is, yeah, there we go. The official rate is 170. The unofficial rate is 317. It means the government and the bank steal half of your money every time you change it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is offensive to the Bitcoiners. And our view is it's offensive that they steal half of your money every 36 months. And it's offensive they steal half your money every time you change it. And it's also offensive that MasterCard and Visa take 2.5% of your money every time you move a transaction from left to right, which means that if you do 40 transactions a year, you've lost all your money. So the credit system and the banking system is onerous and expensive and inefficient. And the monetary system and the fiat currencies are confiscatory and they're brutally unfair. And if you want to have money, you can't depend upon the currencies.
Bitcoin being for the people, not for governments, it represents a life raft especially for people outside of the US, where their currencies are being annihilated and inflation is eating away their money. With the dollar continuing to lose value, Saylor's view is that you need to protect yourself by having Bitcoin and look at it as digital property, not a currency. So, how does a Bitcoin standard look like to Saylor?
I mean, when we talk about Bitcoin standard, I think a family, an individual, or a company can adopt a Bitcoin standard. I don't think we're anywhere close to a nation state adopting a Bitcoin standard. And what it really refers to normally is people focus upon accumulating and storing their wealth in sound money, and they view the Bitcoin as the soundest money. The way we would say it would be under a fiat standard, you're building the economy on a crumbling, corrupt credit system where the value is draining from society's, it's draining into society's goods, making them more expensive because the currency is demonetizing. And under a Bitcoin standard, you're building on a sound, virtuous money, and the value is draining into society's money, making the goods less expensive. And that's true. It's just going to take 30 years. So in the year 2050, I think that the idea is we're not going to have a jolting revolt or a revolution in the economic system. That's not good for anybody, right? I mean, that happened in the Soviet Union and in Cuba, and we know, and North Korea, know how that ends. That's not good. What you want is a gentle progression, or a progression from a fiat system that's crumbling on corrupt credit. You want to progress from that system to sound money. And Bitcoin represents integrity, sound money. And if it took 30 to 50 years to get there, that's probably the most peaceful, least violent, most constructive way to get there. You know, I can't see us rebuilding the entire economy in a matter of a couple of years. We're idealists, and we look out 30 years to 60 years and we see a beautiful world.
Although many would love to see Bitcoin shine and take over the world tomorrow, in Saylor's view, fiat currencies are not likely to go away, and it's going to take time for the transition to a Bitcoin standard to occur. In the meantime, the best advice he would give to anyone looking to protect their wealth and can't afford to invest in real estate is to acquire some Bitcoin, which is digital property. What are your thoughts on this? Will the dollar remain as the world reserve currency? Or will it be replaced by something else other than Bitcoin? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. This is Let's Talk Crypto, and we'll see you in the next video.